And welcome to Roadside Notes. I'm Christopher, the Route 66 chaplain, and these are readings from the Faith and Good Courage Journal found at faithgoodcourage.com. These are stories for and from the road, a little grace for the miles ahead, and reminders that hope still travel with us. This from my February 19th, 2026 entry, The Coffee That Changed Nothing and Everything. Grateful heart giving is not something we usually talk about in diners like the one I found in Barstow. It was an early morning, the kind where the sun looks half awake and, well, the desert hasn't really decided if it wants to be hot or merciful. The diner sat off the highway like it had been there longer than the road itself. Fake wood paneling. It had cracked vinyl booths, the quiet hum of a refrigerator that sounded older than me. It was the kind of place where time doesn't hurry, even if everyone else does. The waitress refilled my cup without asking, like a grateful heart giving. That small gesture, the quiet kind, felt like being handed a bit of steadiness. No words, no checking if I wanted it, just that soft thud of a carafe and a look that said, "You're fine, settle in." Funny how something so small can feel like permission to breathe. A few minutes later, the door chimed and an older man walked in. Gray hair, steady steps, boots that carried the dust of a long week. He sat at the counter like he had been doing it for years. When the waitress asked what he wanted, he held up a single tea bag and said, "Just hot water, sweetheart." But he said it gently, not out of entitlement, but out of survival with dignity still intact. And she didn't even blink, didn't upsell, didn't judge. She just nodded and brought him a larger mug than he'd even asked for. A small kindness from someone who probably makes 20 of them a day, but has no idea how many land in the right hearts at the right time. Then came a young man, early 20s, shoulders tight like life hadn't been cutting him any slack lately. He paused inside the door, scanning the room, scanning the menu, and doing that silent math people do when their wallet isn't their friend. He turned like he was going to leave, pride and hunger. That is a brutal equation. The older man noticed immediately and tapped the counter beside him, just once. No big gesture. "Sit," he said. "The coffee's good." There are invitations that feel safe and invitations that feel like a rescue. This was both. The kid sat. Before the kid even opened the menu, the man waved to the waitress and said whatever he wants, he told her, "Put it on my check." The kid froze. No, I can't. I don't want to." The man shook his head. "Someone bought me breakfast 30 years ago when I couldn't pay. I'm just keeping that moving." The waitress smiled, that soft, knowing smile of someone who's watched humanity kick the can forward more times than gets credit for. She wrote it down like it was the easiest part of her morning. It wasn't the size of the gesture that struck me. It wasn't the cost of the pancakes or the price of the coffee. It was the way kindness seemed to work like a current, something passed down, passed along, passed forward, long after the original giver was gone from the story. The kid ordered pancakes with that mixture of relief and embarrassment that only shows up when kindness lands on someone who wasn't expecting grace. The older man sipped his tea and looked content in a way money can't and won't explain. And the diner, sleepy quiet, like the air got lighter, like everyone in the room sat up a little straighter, reminded them that decency is still out there, still living, still stretching its legs before breakfast. I left a bigger tip than I had planned, not because I wanted to feel generous, but because generosity suddenly felt like the only reasonable way to behave. It didn't feel like charity. It felt like alignment, like someone had reminded me of a truth I already knew but had somehow let get dusty. Now, driving away, I realized this. People think the world changes through big speeches, big movements, big plans. But half the time it changes when someone quietly passes along what was once quietly given to them. No fireworks, no announcements, Just everyday generosity disguised as ordinary moments. Kindness rarely starts with us, but it absolutely continues because of us. In my roadside reflection, there are days when we are the ones needing a hand. Then there are the days that we're the ones meant to offer it. Remember that the road doesn't ask us to be perfect, just willing. A grateful heart turns the ordinary moments into turning points, small choices into lifelines, and strangers into reminders that goodness is still on the move. And when we choose to keep goodness traveling, we become part of something much bigger than the moment we're standing in. Travel well, my friends. Have faith and good courage.